Did anyone lose a Nokia phone with this fantastic bright pink cover? No one? Sure? I'm not selling it today, but no one? Please check. Okay, I'll check with the other immersions. So good morning, welcome to your first immersion. We're going to be talking about how cameras are the new cup holders in our vehicles. So without further delay, I'd like to call on Jennifer Shaw, our consumer electronics, driver assist supervisor. Thank you.
Hi, thanks everyone for joining me and welcome. So I'm going to start with a question. How many of you have a camera with you right now?
Everybody.
Okay, pretty much everybody. Yeah, that's what I expected.
Except the person with the big phone.
That's true. But they don't appear to be here right now. So what about more than one camera? Does anyone have more than one? Yeah, so I suspect if I had asked that question maybe 20 or 30 years ago, the answer might have been a little different. But clearly, everyone has cameras today, and I think this particular group, obviously, journalists tend to have more cameras maybe than others, but in general, most people have at least one camera with them all the time. You can see through the answers to that question and what we're going to see today, there's been a massive proliferation of cameras over the last 20 or 30 years. And it's really been driven by the growth in mobile devices and social media. But cameras have been growing all over the place. Back in 1990, there were 80 billion photos taken on film. Can anyone even remember what film looks like these days? But in 2014, just last year, over 800 billion photos were taken and shared on social networks. So that's a pretty staggering statistic, 800 billion just shared on social networks. And of course, 93 million selfies have been taken daily on Android phones alone. So when you add the iPhones to that mix, that's probably a huge number. Right? So it just kind of goes to show that cameras and this technology have really been growing a lot in the most recent years. Cameras, it makes sense that they've been growing because they really help us out a lot. So they help us to communicate. Cameras really help us to keep in touch with friends and family around the world. They help children in schools to learn, and even people with distance learning. They help with shopping even, your barcode app on your iPhone or your Android phone. So cameras really do play a big role in our daily lives. Cameras are also everywhere in our environment. Wherever you go, you'll see cameras. You'll see security cameras at the airport and public transit. On school buses, you see cameras these days. Lots of people using GoPros all over the place, in home security, even in the military, or even with dash cameras in some particular markets. We see a lot of those. So really, cameras are growing. They're all around us, and we don't see that trend changing, right? We don't expect that in another 10 years, cameras are going to start to recede. They're only growing. Cameras are booming in automotive as well, and I think many of you have seen that. But you might ask the question, why are we talking about cup holders? So the introduction, the title of this talk is Cameras and Cup Holders. Well, the cup holder 30 years ago was a novelty item. People didn't necessarily have one. They thought it was cool when they first came out, but it wasn't an absolute must-have. Right? But today, I don't think you can buy a car without a cup holder. In fact, you probably can't buy a car with less than 6 cup holders these days, right? And the cup holder has really become a mainstay of our American commute. Where would you put your cup of coffee in the morning if you didn't have that cup holder? So it's really become a mainstream must-have feature. The first Ford vehicle to offer a cup holder was the 1984 Ford Bronco. And again, back then, it was a cool thing, but people didn't go out and buy a new car just so they could add a cup holder. But today, it's critical. And the rear view camera is kind of moving in that same direction. Ford first offered a rear view camera in 2007 on the Expedition. And back then, we thought it was really cool, right? It was definitely a neat feature, but it was a novelty thing. People didn't go out and buy a new car just so they could get a rear view camera. Today, that's all changing. People really love their rear view cameras, and in fact, Ford was one of the first to introduce a rear view camera on the Expedition in 2007. Today, cameras are among the most desired features. There will be over 15 million cameras on the road every year beginning in 2018, and that's just rear view cameras. In a recent Harris poll, The survey showed that 84% of customers ranked safety technologies, and primarily the rear view camera at the top of that list of safety technologies, as one of the most important considerations when they're buying a new vehicle. So cameras are obviously playing a really big part in customers' buying decisions and in their thoughts about safety in their vehicle. The rear view camera is actually one of the top must-have technologies from our Fusion buyers. And in fact, the Fusion, the Ford Fusion, was one of the first vehicles in its segment to offer a standard rear view camera. Like cup holders, our customers tell us that once they have a rear view camera, they can't live without it. They don't want to live without it. They never want to buy another car without a rear view camera. In fact, in some states, you're even allowed to use a rear view camera in your driving test. So it goes to show things have changed quite a bit in recent years. And it makes sense because cameras just make our lives and our drives a little bit easier and more convenient and more safe. So at Ford, we are not limiting the advanced camera technology to the luxury set or to higher priced vehicles. We believe that the technology is really important to keep our customers safe, and we want to offer it to all of our customers. So because of that, we offer a rear view camera on all of our models. And in fact, the rear view camera is standard on many of our most popular models, including the Focus, the Fusion, the Escape, the Edge, the Explorer, and the Mustang. And that's not because we're worried about regulatory considerations or anything like that. It's because our customers are asking for this, and we're listening to them and just putting it out there because it's a feature that customers really like and appreciate. The new F-150 actually sort of sets the bar at Ford with 5 cameras available on this. One in the front grille, one in the rear tailgate, one in each side view mirror. Those are all used for the 360 camera system. And then one in the windshield for forward-facing features like lane keep assist and auto high beam. So that vehicle really sets the standard at Ford for camera technology. We also offer a 3-camera system on both the Explorer and the Edge that just came out recently. One in the grille, one in the rear, and one in the mirror as well. But it's not about the sheer number of cameras, right? It's more about what are cameras doing for us? How are we using cameras to make our drives easier and safer? And you can see there's a whole host of features that cameras enable. Pre-collision assist with pedestrian detection is one really important one, right? Your eyes might not be on the road every single second, but that camera is always looking at the road. And if it sees that a collision is imminent, it's going to alert you and possibly even pre-charge the brakes for you so that you have some assistance with stopping. The Pro Trailer Backup Assist feature, I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, some of you might have, but if not, you will see it in the parking lot today. Very cool feature where the rear view camera is actually tracking the trailer and working with the steering system to help you steer and back up your trailer. So one of the most stressful things about pulling a trailer, at least in my opinion, is having to back it up. And this system just makes it effortless. Dynamic hitch assist. Seems like a relatively simple thing. It's a line on the camera screen, but it just really makes a huge difference when you're trying to line up your truck to your trailer and hitch up. Lane keeping features, of course, the camera is always looking at the lines on the road, and when you start to veer out of your lane, it'll give you a nudge back in or at least give you a warning to let you know. The 360-degree camera, something that we were particularly excited about, really gives you a great view all around your vehicle, and it's really useful when you're maneuvering in tight, in a tight parking structure or just trying to see more about what's around your vehicle. And of course, auto high beams. Again, talk about effortless. You turn those high beams on, you don't even have to think about it. It takes care of you and the other drivers as well by turning them on and off as needed. So you can see there are so many different applications that we have out there today that use cameras to really help enable more comfort, more convenience, and more safety for our customers. And we continue to innovate, keeping cameras clean with our unique washer technology for cameras. I think most of you probably have driven or have a vehicle with a rear view camera, and I think everyone can probably say that the camera gets dirty, right? And how frustrating is it when you shift into reverse, you're ready to go, seatbelt's on, and you look and you cannot see a thing through your rear view camera. This washer technology for cameras is great because it instantaneously cleans the camera. It really helps out when you need it most. So Ford's pace of innovation is really accelerating further, and we're pleased to announce today that by 2018, rear view cameras will be standard across all of our models, and by 2020, front cameras will also be available on the majority of our vehicles. This is really exciting because it means that by 2020, we'll be putting more than 2 million cameras on the road every year. It's a huge number of cameras, but it's just sort of the beginning. Another feature that we're very excited about is the split view camera feature, which we just launched on the new Edge in the US and China, and also will be launching on some models of the Explorer and is already available as standard feature on the Explorer Limited. This feature is really cool because not only does it show you what's directly in front of you or behind you, but it also shows you what's coming from either side. It's great for pulling out, out of a driveway onto a busy road, backing out of a parking spot that's maybe obstructed a little bit on one side or another. It just really helps to extend your vision. And that feature will be available also in Europe on the new S-Max and Galaxy that are coming soon. I'm also very excited to tell you a little bit about the next Ford Super Duty. This vehicle will feature our most advanced camera technology yet, with up to 7 cameras and an all-new digital architecture. So I can't really say much yet. You'll be learning more about that vehicle in the future, but what I will say is that it really raises the bar a level higher in terms of Ford's camera technology, and it's going to provide some outstanding views around both the truck and a trailer. So when it comes to cameras in the automotive industry, there's some unique considerations that we have to take into account. So with consumer electronics, with your cell phone camera, it pretty much lives in your pocket, in your purse, in your briefcase, but you don't have to worry about some of the things that you need to worry about when the camera is actually on the outside of a vehicle, right? We have to be concerned about heat, cold, ice, snow, salt, vibration, all of these things. In fact, we even submerge our cameras to make sure that they're fully sealed. These cameras go through thousands of hours of testing just at a component level, not even on a vehicle, to make sure that they're durable and that they're going to live through the life of the vehicle and continue to provide those critical functions throughout the life of the vehicle. So also a little different from consumer electronics, the resolution of automotive cameras is typically at most about 1 megapixel. So in the consumer industry, you see cameras with very high resolution, which is great. Those are needed when you're going to be showing an image on a big flat screen TV. But with a camera in a vehicle, the display is small, and we try to find the right balance between price and function. So in this case, about 1 megapixel is the most that we feel is needed to provide a great image to the customer that shows them what they need to see, and also is still economical and affordable for our customers. So then we start thinking about what comes next. I mentioned the camera washer as something that we're doing today, but what if camera lenses never got dirty? I think that'd be a lot better than a washer, right? So we're looking at research into new materials, new lens coatings that could potentially prevent the camera from ever getting dirty in the first place. That's very exciting research that's going on now. Also, imagine the future potential applications for cameras. What if you didn't have mirrors? What if you had cameras instead of mirrors, both outside and inside the vehicle? How would that change the way our vehicles look? How would it change the aerodynamic properties of our vehicles? Could definitely be a game changer. What if there was a camera inside the vehicle looking at the driver, seeing if the driver's eyes were staying on the road or if they were falling asleep, if they were talking to their passenger, and could warn the customer when something was happening, right, when they weren't paying attention to the road. What about security applications? What if you could beam the 360-degree camera image from your vehicle to your smartphone? And if there was a theft, you could see exactly what was around your vehicle. Or even if you just wanted to check it out before you went into the dark parking structure to get in your car. There's a lot of very interesting and exciting potential future applications, and of course we know that cameras will play a huge part in autonomous driving in the future, as well as many other sensors. So as you can see from what we talked about today, the camera is becoming very important both in automotive and in the world, and I welcome your questions. Yes?
Will there also be the consideration of cameras to record your driving if you got in an accident, you'd have a full recording of it, so that you usually back?
It's definitely something, like the dash cams are definitely going in that direction. There's always a delicate balance between, personal privacy. Oh yeah, sorry. Why don't you repeat the question with the mic there?
Yes, I'm talking about the advent of cameras that would record your driving, so that if you got in an accident, you would have a recording of or playing back any of the things that the cameras are watching, recording.
Right. So like I was saying, I think with the dash cam technology, that's definitely one of the main purposes of that, and there's definitely work being done in that area. There's always a delicate balance between, privacy and using technology for driving assistance. So we don't typically record any data right now in our vehicles. All of the data is just there for the customer to see, or there for the computers within the vehicle to use, but it's not recorded. But that's definitely, the industry is looking at that, and definitely opportunities in certain markets. There's a lot of aftermarket cameras like that, specifically for that reason.